Karen's brats peed in my pool to claim it as their own. Now they think they own my pool. I just recently had a new family move into my neighborhood. The neighborhood is relatively small and close-knit. The kind of neighborhood where everyone knows each other and we generally all get along well. We have big block parties and shoot off fireworks together on the holidays. The new family is a middle-aged couple with their 4 children. The kids' ages range from around 14 to 2. This incident is just the first of several problems that I've had with this family since they've moved in. So, I was hanging out in the living room, just relaxing and watching TV. From the couch, I have a clear view into my backyard. That's when I noticed the retractable cover of my swimming pool begin to roll up. I was home alone and no one else has access to my backyard. For insurance reasons, I have a lock on my back gate because of the pool. The gate always remains locked as we'd be liable if anything was to happen in the yard. I rush outside and see what's going on. That's when I see the entitled mother standing next to my pool with her 4 children. They're dressed in their swimsuits and she's rolling up the cover of my pool. I say, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing in my backyard?"
"My kids have been well behaved today and they want to go for a swim. I saw that you have a pool, so we're going for a dip."
This is not a public pool, lady. You're on my private property. I need you to get out of my backyard now. I never told you you were allowed to come on my property without permission."
"Who the hell do you think you are? It's a very hot day and my kids want to go for a swim, and they will."
"Not in my private pool, they won't. How did you even get in my yard anyway? The gate is locked."
"Frick off. In my old neighborhood, we did this all the time. My kids are going for a swim now, and you won't even know we're here. You're just being selfish and I won't allow my babies to suffer because of your bad mood."
I was angry now. "I will not ask again, woman. You either get the heck off my property now or I'll call the police. You're not using my pool and that's final." She finally finishes getting the cover off.
"Okay, kids, jump in. Don't listen to this stupid witch."
One of the kids chimes in.
"Yeah, you stupid witch."
And by the way, witch should actually start with a B, but we can't say that word here.
"We're going for a swim now, and you can't stop us."
So I say, "That's it, I'm calling the police." The lady now sees that I'm serious and she tries to reason with me.
"You really wouldn't allow 4 kids to go for a swim on a hot day? What kind of heartless person are you? Just let us go swimming for an hour and we'll leave. Don't you want to be a good neighbor to us?"
No, actually, I don't. You just broke into my backyard without permission. Please get off my property now." She starts to mumble something to her kids and then she grabs her 2 youngest and starts to walk out of my yard. I then turn around to see her 2 oldest boys still standing by the pool. I start to walk over to them to tell them to go with their mother, and that's when I see what they're doing. Her 2 eldest hellspawn are peeing into my pool.
"Maybe that'll teach you to be a better neighbor, you stupid witch."
I grab the arms of the 2 oldest and push them out the gate. "Get the frick off my property, you disgusting little crap bags."
"Don't you dare lay a hand on my babies or I'll call the police on you. Who do you think they'll believe, a good mommy or a pathetic little witch like you? You just got what you deserve. Enjoy swimming in your dirty yellow pool."
They then all walk off laughing as they go back to their house. I was in complete shock and I didn't know what to do. I now wish I called the police after this first incident, but sadly I did not, and things have since escalated with this family. Remember how I said that I had a lock on the gate? I later found it broken on the ground. I have no idea what they used to smash it, but they were successful. I've since purchased a much more heavy-duty lock. I'm going to post about more of my experiences with this mother as this has been an ongoing thing. I'll also call the police to file a report. I think many of the people writing into me are right about that one, and it's better safe than sorry. I believe some of my other neighbors may have already called the police on this lady as well. A lot of people keep asking why I didn't just call them right away. I'm not the best with confrontation and I have a hard time handling stuff like this. When people yell at me, I sometimes just shut down and panic. At the beginning of this incident, I really thought that the lady had the wrong backyard since she was new. A few of my other neighbors have pools as well, and I thought maybe one of them had offered her to use their pool. Many of my neighbors are very friendly and are the type to offer that kind of thing. I thought maybe just this crazy woman had got the wrong yard. And boy, was I wrong. After the altercation happened, I was just too scared to call. I did lay hands on her kids, and I was worried I'd get in trouble for that. I didn't think it would escalate the way it did. I didn't think anyone could be this crazy. Also, yes, this is all unfortunately real. I wish it was fake. It would have saved me a lot of time, money, and tears. She's definitely the jerk, isn't she? No question about who the jerk is in this story, no. It's the awful parent who literally broke and entered and then laughed at you as her hellspawn corrupted your property with their rancid wee-wee. How and why is this woman in a position to raise kids and pass her awful behavior off onto them? We need to get them out of her clawed hands and get them into the hands of a role model who isn't a literal pile of number 2 in a Karen haircut. This is why a bunch of people the world over feel like they need to have security systems all over their houses, so that when people pull stuff like this and inevitably create a network of lies to try and avoid culpability, you can pull the footage out to prove them wrong. A lot of our stories depend on such evidence. It doesn't seem like the author has any sort of such system, given that this is the sort of thing that would allow them to press charges on this terrible person, so maybe that'll be a motivation to invest in something like this in the future. Oh, and there's another twist, because as it turns out, the kind of person who'll do this regularly gets into scrapes with their surrounding neighbors. Shocking, I know. So here we have the part 2 to this same story from the author, who seems to have accrued quite a few more incidents with this neighborhood villain. Whatever will she get up to next? Update to Karen and her brats. Here's a few more things that this awful woman has done to my family and neighbors since the first incident. Event number 2. I came home from shopping the next day and found out that this lady went into my backyard a second time. I was out at the hardware store buying a new lock for the gate when this occurred. Before I'd left to go shopping, I asked my elderly neighbor to keep an eye out for this lady just in case. And here's what she told me happened. She said that this entitled mother and her kids were in my yard playing with my family's lawn games. We have several, such as lawn darts, ladder ball, a fake axe throwing game, among others. She didn't know how long they'd been in the yard, but when she noticed them, she went onto her deck and told them to leave. After making a fuss, yet again, they complied and left. Apparently a lot of swearing and a full-blown tantrum was involved. I went into the yard to investigate and see if anything had been taken, and nothing was taken per se, but most of the games had damage. A few darts were snapped, an axe was broken, and my inflatable unicorn float for the pool was popped. I was livid at this point, and I couldn't believe it had happened again. I spoke to my parents about this incident, and I wanted to call the police. My parents told me not to bother though, that it was just cheap stuff and that I should let it go. They told me the police wouldn't care about something so trivial. Ultimately, they are the homeowners, so it wasn't my decision. I did make a point of taking all the broken pieces and throwing them over her front lawn. A few bags of dog waste included for extra fun. Then there was event 3. The crappy kids went into another elderly neighbor's front garden and picked almost every one of her flowers. She had a beautiful garden with roses and other expensive flowers in it. It was my neighbor's pride and joy. She had been working on that garden ever since I was a child. I was walking my dog when I found her crying in her garden as she cleaned up the mess. When she told me the story of what had happened, it broke my heart. I asked her if she was going to call the police, and she said she already had. They'd come in earlier in the day and had gone over to talk to the lady. The lady had defended her kids' actions by saying that it was her birthday and the kids thought she deserved a beautiful present. Wasn't that lovely of them? She even proudly showed the bouquet off to the police officers. The police didn't do anything other than give her a verbal warning and file a report. Event 4. The neighborhood has a park only 3 houses down from this lady's home. Instead of walking there like a normal person, she'd load up her kids in the car and drive them over. There isn't a parking lot at this park, and most people who drive there will park on the side of the road. Not entitled mother though, she'll run over the curb and park directly beside the children's playground equipment. She's done this numerous times regardless of if there are other people at the playground. She'll just honk her horn at you and scream for you to move. I have a video and pictures of her doing this. For the purpose of keeping this anonymous, I'm not going to post them as our park has a unique setup. Some of the other neighborhood parents were obviously furious over her actions, and she was confronted about her behavior. I stood with them, watching as I was walking my dog at the time, and I was very curious to see how this ended. They told her she could hit a child or animal by doing this. She just started saying we were racist and that we were harassing her. She then went and called the police on us. She was acting very smug by doing this and seemed genuinely proud of herself. She told the group that we were going to be sorry for the way we'd treated her since she moved in. As soon as the police came, she began to cry and claim that we'd all been harassing her for weeks. She made up a whole bunch of lies about things we'd done to her. She even threw herself on the ground and acted like a child. 2 of her kids joined in on this tantrum, and the others just continued to play. The police interviewed everyone who was present, and it was very clear that she was wrong in this situation. The police pulled her aside and talked to her. She was given a very hefty ticket for reckless driving, and she was told that if this happened again, she'd be charged. For once, she was silent and just left with her kids. To my knowledge, she hasn't done it again since. That's all I have time to tell you about right now, and I'd better get back to work before my boss notices. I wish I had more time to tell you everything that's happened, but I promise to update again soon. Okay, so that same pressing need for home security cameras has now been escalated, especially as we've seen that she'll use any means necessary, in this case whatever her race happens to be, to deflect and claim that any suggestion her behavior isn't okay is just racism and discrimination. Please, show me which culture would define urinating in your neighbor's pool as a kind and respectful gesture between beloved friends, and I'll back down. I'll also bet money on her actually encouraging the kids to go and rip out the flowers for her birthday, as she was just way too prepared for that one. As for hooning around in her car onto the park so that she doesn't have to walk what sounds like less than 100 meters there? What a sack of garbage. No wonder your kids seem to have so much pent-up energy to behave like demons. They can't walk it out with Mummy anywhere because the distance between the garage and the mailbox is too much of an epic hike to not pull out ye old automobile and pump some exhaust fumes into the air. And I thought this would be the final update, but after scanning the comments a little, I am not so delighted to bring you yet another update. So here it is, what will hopefully be the final episode of this awful Karen terrorizing the neighborhood. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. The final epic conclusion to the pool trespassing entitled Mother. This happened during my neighborhood's firework display. All the neighborhood families generally get together and have a huge fireworks night in the summer. A lot of money is spent on this, and it's not exactly a small show. We all look forward to this every year, and everyone who goes will contribute some money or bring some fireworks to contribute. My brother is the one responsible for this event. He brings everything down to the park, gets everything set up, and then runs the show. He doesn't live with my parents anymore, but still comes back every year to run it because he loves it. As soon as it gets dark, all of the families start to arrive and set up their lawn chairs, etc., and I notice that this lady and her kids have arrived, even though no one invited them. I was just hoping that there wouldn't be any trouble, but apparently, I'm just not that lucky. As soon as the fireworks start, her youngest child starts to freak the frick out. The screams of this child were constant and almost as loud as the fireworks. The kid is young, so I'm not surprised that she was scared by the noise. The lady doesn't even seem to care or try to comfort the child. She just keeps playing on her phone and ignores the kid. 2 of her other kids then start to run up on the field where the fireworks are being lit. To help my brother and avoid anyone getting hurt, I get up and run to stop them from doing this. I brought them over to their mother and told her to please control her children, as it's dangerous to go on the field. This lady completely ignores me and continues to play on her phone. The kids run up on the field 4 more times throughout the night. I had to continue to get them off each time as this lady did nothing. All of these awful kids during the night just made it a complete nightmare. They would take sparklers and snacks right out of other children's hands. They pushed and hurt the other children when they tried to get their stuff back. Many of the other parents had to intervene and protect the other kids. They tried talking to this lady, but she continued to do nothing and ignore anyone who tried to talk to her. This had distracted me and everyone else so much that no one noticed what her oldest kid was doing. He had taken a few of the Roman candles from the boxes and had snuck away with them. The 14-year-old had also managed to get his hands on an extra lighter. He went to the opposite end of the park near the house and proceeded to light 3 at the same time. By some miracle, he didn't get hurt, as he was smart enough to at least have them facing away from his body. When we noticed, everyone went running to try and stop him, but no one was able to get to him fast enough before the unthinkable happened. He obviously wasn't in control of the firework, and this resulted in a nearby neighbor's house, deck, and tree all catching fire. The police and fire departments were immediately called. This time, Karen didn't ignore what was happening and she quickly grabbed all of her children and ran back to her house. There was a great deal of confusion at this point and everyone was in a complete panic. Soon the fire was put out and everything started to settle down. The neighbor's house and deck had some pretty nasty fire damage. The police questioned everyone at the site and we all gave them the same story about what had happened. Upon hearing this, the police immediately went to talk to the lady. When she came out, she claimed that she and her family were never even there. She told the police that we were all liars and that we were out to get her. This was quickly proven to be a lie, as many of the neighbors had been taking photos and videos at the park, and in many of them you could clearly see her and her kids. This lady and her 14-year-old fire starter were then escorted into a police car and taken away. The other kids were taken away by Child Protection Services. I found out later that the lady was being charged with child endangerment, property damage, and possession of illegal substances. Her case has not come to trial, so I don't have all the details right now, but it turns out she's a heavy substance user. She was tested at the police station when they found her to be behaving oddly, and it was discovered in her system. A warrant was obtained for her house, and a lot of illegal substances were found. Now all of her children are in the care of CPS, and she's in prison awaiting trial. And so it was that the Am I the Jerk narrator finished the final chapter in the saga of Karen the Crappy. Seriously though, this was insane, and I'm very glad that her kids are literally anywhere other than with her. For their own safety, although it's a definite bonus that they'll be getting raised by much better role models with any luck. I thought that her behavior in the last installment was way too calm compared to what we'd established up until this point in the story. Letting the precious babies who should shield from consequences now wield fiery weapons of destruction without a care in the world? What gives, Karen? But then the explanation came and it basically gave us the key to all of her shenanigans up to this point. She was high as a frickin' kite. A well-deserved end to a truly awful monster. Now I look forward to doing a story about literally anyone else in the final part of this video. You're capping commissions on our most in-demand vehicles because you're not doing any extra work, so you shouldn't get extra money? Fine. Let's see how that works out for you. Back in 2014, I was selling cars. Ford, specifically. For those who aren't car buffs, both the Mustang and F-150 were getting ground-up redesigns for 2015, and Ford had just announced that there'd be no Shelby Mustangs or Raptor F-150s for 2015. Instantly, we were fielding several calls a day about these vehicles, and almost overnight, the inventory we had came with a $10,000 to $20,000 market adjustment due to demand. Our general manager loved both vehicles and traded for them whenever he could because he loved chatting about them with buyers. So he had 21 Raptors and 6 Shelbys still on the lot when I sold a ruby red Raptor extended cab at $10,000 over the usual price the last week of the month. Both are crazy numbers for the 200 plus cars we sold each month. With the trade, I was due about $420,000 in commission, but my check was about $1,700 light. Come the first Saturday morning meeting after payday, we were told that commissions on such vehicles would be capped at $2,500, retro to last month, per a previously ignored provision in our pay plan. There was much grumbling, but management stood firm, citing how incredibly easy Raptor and Shelby deals were. And they weren't wrong about that. There was no such thing as a test drive until the deal was done. You could absolutely drive the car before you bought it, but only after a signed buyer's order, credit app, and the deal had been submitted and approved. These buyers were generally in and out in under 45 minutes, if not half an hour. But still, the dealership gets free money and doesn't want to share it with us? So cue the malicious compliance. I talked to several other salespeople who were to a man angry, and we colluded together. I whipped up a little Excel macro that would take the invoice price or holdback, add in pack and whatnot, and spit out a sales price that would produce an exactly $2,500 commission. I sent it to every salesperson we had, and everyone used it. It only took 3 signed buyer's deals with seemingly arbitrary numbers for the desk to figure out what we were doing and call another meeting immediately. That meeting was basically management yelling at us, and the entire sales staff calmly saying, "Remove the cap or you'll never see another signed buyer's order that exceeds it. F you." The cap was lifted 3 days later. 3 days is a very long time to hold out when you're presumably losing a fair bit of money as a result of your own disastrous policy. As usual, this is a reminder to stand up and hit your bosses where it hurts when they make stupid policies to stop you from getting your due. I've never understood sales-based jobs that do this. So you're going to remove people's motivations to sell anything over a certain amount? Have fun watching them do exactly the amount of work needed to make it and then tune out and actively distract other workers and glare at you for impacting their livelihoods. Generally, policies like this come at the hands of bosses who are appalled when their staff's payments begin to approach their own salaries. So they get butthurt and try to pull a cap to put the employees in their place and completely kill their motive to do their job. Get over yourselves, managers. If your staff are thriving, that's great. Now you have as good a reason as any to lobby for a pay rise. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.